Welcome back. On today's QuickShot video, I'm going to share my settings for powder-coated stainless steel, things like tumblers and pet bowls. I hope you'll stick around. We'll get right to it. Today, on LaserNug. The purpose of these QuickShot videos is to get you quick access to a set of settings that, so far, I like a lot and that are working out great for me on the Bolt. So let's get right to it. I'm going to take you into Lightburn. I've started to use this materials library all the time now. It's a great handy feature in Lightburn that we picked up off of Thunder USA's website. If I run down here, you'll see I've already added a category called powder coat. Start off with dog bowls. And today I'm going to test it again on the tumblers just to make sure it's excellent. If I double click it, here are my settings. Set up at 600 millimeters per second. Want my max power at 70, and I want to change my min power to 60. I learned through testing this is really important to ramp that down. And then my lines per inch is at 604.76. I put 600 in there, it automatically adjusts. So give those a try and let me know in the comments if they worked out well for you or not, or if you adjusted anything. Now in the second part, I'll go into a little more background, a little more detail, and we're going to throw another tumbler on the grip. I'd invite you to stick around, but if you've got your settings and you're dying to get into that Bolt and give them a try, then I hope I see you on the next one. Let's go. So I did a lot of testing in the last couple of days. I did probably the same thing you did. I went onto a number of different YouTube channels trying to find somebody that had a Bolt and was also working with powder-coated materials. Kind of like you're probably doing with me right now. I got a number of different settings, surprisingly settings that were quite different from other channels between them. They weren't very consistent. Plus, I had a setting for tumblers here in the library from Thunder Laser USA. So I started off with the settings that are in the library for Thunder Laser. And here's an interesting thing that I found. Although I often use a 400 DPI setting or lines per inch setting when I'm doing wood or I'm doing slate coasters, and it seems to work out excellent, it didn't work so well on my first dog bowl. Now you're not going to be able to see it even though I'm filming in 4K, but what I found was, and in fact I can literally see the lines going up across the bowl as it was engraving. I've got an engraved line, then I have a powder coat line. An engraved line, a powder coat line. The resolution just was not good enough. So I had to keep bumping it up. So I did. I also tried a variety of different combinations of speed and power, which is how I got to the speed that I provided to you, as well as the fact that I learned that it's important on these types of materials to get that laser to slow down at the end of its engrave, and that's why I've given you a max and a min setting. Because what I did find, especially on certain colors, primarily this teal, for example, a nice soft color, I found that there was almost like an afterburn, not a scorch, but when the laser goes across and it takes off the material, it tends to leave like a little residue, almost like a scorch mark at the end of some of the characters. And I'll tell you how I got that off shortly. Anyways, bottom line is, I've got some great settings that gives me a nice clean engrave. My stainless steel is shiny, just as shiny as the top rim, which is what I was looking for. Because certain settings at certain speeds will give you more of a dull effect. And in fact, you can tell when your lines per inch, at least this is what I'm concluding, is not clean enough or your resolution is not high enough, because some of your letters will not come out nice and perfectly clean. You'll see that there's, a little bit of gravelly marks, as in it didn't cleanly cut the bottom or the side of the letter. So I knew I had to increase that. So I took a number of different types of graphics. I used a different type of font, large graphics with big cutouts, so I could feel with my finger to make sure that all of the powder coat came off. Small little footprints, for example. And then I used our old log cabin, because it's a beauty. There's lots of tiny detail. Just a simple graphic with lots of space and something in the middle so I could see if it could cleanly cut it out. And you may or may not be able to see it, but it did an absolutely excellent job. So we're going to test these settings out one more time on another tumbler. I decided for the first time I'm going to try one of these wine tumblers or wine coolers. It's a Polar Camel brand has a lid, and it's similar to the other ones that you're going to find, whether they're large or different shapes. They're double wall construction. I think they're BPA free of something, and they're insulated. But more importantly, it's powder coated. It's not enameled or painted, it's powder coated. Before I begin, I just want to measure out my printable area, so to speak, because the logo I'm going to be using today is circular, or it's round, and I just want to make sure that I've got an idea of how much space I have to work with here. And I think I'm good for about 2 inches for sure. So we'll do it about that size. If you haven't picked up one of these yet, you should grab one. They're very handy. I'm going to leave that in inches, and I'm going to zero it out because I need to know when I set up my grip, I need to know what the diameter of this is going to be. And this one's a little tricky. It's tapered at the top, so 3.2 inches. So given I have a really bad memory, I know I want 2 inches for the logo, and I know I have a diameter of 3.2 inches. All right, let's jump into Lightburn. All right, I'm going to do something for the first time today. I'm going to be importing something other than an SVG file, but it's a pretty simple logo. I've learned that you can't just click open here at the top. You need to click import. So I'm going to pull that down off of the file menu. I'm going to my desktop, and you'll see right down at the bottom, I've got a PNG file, and I'm going to open that here in Lightburn. And there it is. It's a pretty simple file. It does have multiple colors, but it's all changed to shades of black, as you can see here on the screen. I know I need to use the trace command, because if I don't, I'm not sure what happens later in Lightburn yet, but if I click on preview, in other words, if I attempt to engrave this the way it is, you'll notice here down in the bottom right, it says it's going to take 28 minutes and 43 seconds in order to engrave it. And I don't actually know if it will engrave it because it's not, I guess, in the right vector format. So I'm going to close that. I've left it highlighted, and I'm going to go up to Tool, I believe. And if you come all the way down here towards the bottom, you'll see Trace Image. I'm going to click on Trace Image. And now I have a file that I believe this means it's become a vector. Don't quote me on that, but that's what I've learned so far. And I'll look at it. I see it appears to have caught everything. That's all these purpley red colored lines. I don't seem to have anything extraneous in this little image. So I'm going to click OK. Now you'll see that it's created here up to the top right a new layer. It's a fill layer, right? So I believe I can remove this image layer. So I just grab it, move it, because it tends, for some reason, it duplicates right on top. I'm going to click on the colored one, and I'm going to delete it. And you'll see that worked correctly because the image layer up here in the top right disappeared. And now I have a file that looks just like we normally see. I'm going to click here, click on 00. I want to make sure that it's grouped, and it is. I can see that at the top. And I can move this around. So that's step one. I now have my engravable file. And just for interest, if I highlight it and I click on preview again, now this file is only going to take 9 minutes and 9 seconds. So now my logo is just about ready, except I know I've decided I only want it 2 inches on the side of this wine cooler. And I know I'm going to be using my grip rotary. So I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to go up to the middle where it says rotate, and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. There we go. And I know that I want the width here to be 2 inches. So I'm going to come up to the top. You'll notice the lock is on because I want to keep the aspect ratio of the logo. I'm going to put 2. Now that it's flipped, I want to apply my settings. So I'm not sure what settings are in here currently, but I'm going to come down. And you'll see in the library here at the bottom, I've got powder coat. I've got it highlighted. My cut layer is highlighted, so I'm going to click Assign. And you would have seen that the settings changed to be exactly what I saved in the library. There they are. 600, 70, 60, 604 lines per inch. Okay, so that's good. Let's power up the machine. We've got to get the rotary ready. Before I turn the machine on, I want to make sure I unplug that rotary device. And I'm going to need to change my chucks. I had these extensions put in here to do the dog bowls. Try not to lose my screws in here. So far, I'm pretty impressed with this Pyburn grip. This is the model that's made specifically for the bolt. Comes with a number of different grips to fit different types of materials. And now I'm just going to put in these smaller grips because I think that's all I'm going to need for that small little wine coaster. Okay, my little grips are in, so I'm just going to extend them out a little bit, see if we can fit this on there. There we go. Okay, gentle. And I'm looking to make sure that the rim touches everything all the way around so that I know it's on there square. Touching, touching, touching. Good. Okay, now let's level it. It's not very level. Gonna undo these thumb screws here. Let's see if we can find level. Okay, I think that does the trick right there. And it's a small cup, so I don't think I need the rear rollers. All right, let's get the machine turned on and get her set up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my regular directionals, bring the laser over. I want to be careful here. I'm in really good shape, but I want to make sure that there's no obstructions to this laser head. And being that I've set this so far down, I'm in good shape. I'm going to now touch my Z and I'm going to bring up my Z axis to be a little closer because I don't need it that far away. Okay, and I'm going to bring my laser dot or my indicator here. If you're new to this bolt grip, there's a little set screw here that's exactly in the center of this spindle. And if you come to the other end, you'll see that you've got a vertical wheel that's also exactly centered. So what I want to do is I want to run my laser, I want to line it up with this set screw, and then I'm going to run my laser indicator across and make sure it lines up with this rear wheel and mechanism here between the two bottom rollers right here. In order to do that, I find it easy to get close and then to go into manual mode on my screen, unlock my nudge commands. And if you're not sure how to use those, I'll put a link above me to a video I did recently to help you out. And all I want to do is try to get that laser lined up right on top of it. There we go. Perfect. Now I'm just going to run it across and make sure it lines up. And it does. Just like I left it. So I'm going to bring that back. And now I want to stop right about here, I think. I'm going to nudge that just a little bit. And this is where I want to set my origin. That done, I'm going to reach down. I'm going to plug in my rotary. And you can see that there's a shaped or an indented side here that will fit in the top of the rotary plug. And we're in. Now let's head into Lightburn. So back here in Lightburn, you'll know I've got my image. I've already rotated it 90 degrees. And I need to go up here to the top right hand corner to this little circular device. That's your rotary. I'm going to click on it. I want to make sure in my case that it's on chuck, and it is. I've enabled it here in the middle. But you'll remember I took a measurement of the diameter of that mug or that tumbler, and it was 3.2 inches. I'm going to put that in here, and it should automatically change the circumference, which it did. And I click OK. So I have my fill settings correct. I have my image But now I want to make sure that this green dot is at the side where it is. If I come down to the bottom and I click on laser, it says user origin, and you will see that it is in fact here at the far right side. I have cut selected graphics. I think I'm in good shape. User origin. My device is connected. It's ready. Now I'm going to send this file to the laser. And I'm going to call this GP Tum. And I click OK. And you heard the beep. So I've already centered and leveled my tumbler. And now I'm going to press my origin. I'm going to bring the Z up just a little bit closer so I can see it better. Hopefully you can as well. And I'm going to now frame this piece to see where it's going to be. I'm going to autofocus. And I think we're ready to go. I close my lid, grab my laser goggles or safety goggles. Decided I'm just going to use them all the time now. And let's press start. This is what it's going to look like when it comes out. I'm going to go clean this up and I'll be right back. Hey, while I'm getting that cup clean, I just wanted to talk to you about my experience so far with different types of cleaners. This one here, it's called Laser Clean Plus. This has not worked so well so far on things like these mugs or tumblers or the pet bowls. I haven't tried it on wood yet, and in all fairness, it doesn't list stainless steel or powder coat on its directions. It talks about aluminum, wood, different types of acrylic, etc. So I haven't ruled it out yet. I'll keep using it and I'll let you know in time how it works on these other types of materials. What I found works best for these bowls and the tumblers, anything that's powder coated stainless steel, are these two. Hands down, this power wash works excellent. And it's certainly my favorite. I know it's kind of expensive compared to possibly some other things. And I know that if you're selling product, you want to keep your input costs down, but it works great. You spray it across, leave it for about 10 or 15 seconds, and then just use a regular scrubby pad, that you use for your kitchen dishes. Give it a little wipe for a minute or so, and then rinse it off, and it's clean and crisp. What I did find, though, is that on some of these lighter colors, like the teal or this red, I noticed that in some spots after the engraving, I'd wash it with the power wash, but on some parts, it's almost kind of like an afterburn or a scorch looking effect in some parts of some of the engravings. And I think what it is just a buildup of the residue from the laser that gets caught in the powder coat. But the power wash had a difficult time getting it off. So I gave the magic eraser a try. It worked great. But if you look at that, you'll notice you can see the discoloration on the sponge. And that's because if you keep rubbing it too long, I think it starts to break down the powder coat. Because what I did find especially prominent on the red bowl is that when I was done and I rinsed it off, it's almost like it bled some of the powder coat back into the engraved area. And then in order to get it off, I used the power wash again and it came right off. But I think what I'd offer is that if you've got some of these, build up or almost scorch-like marks on these lighter colors, I'm pretty sure it's just the residue built up. You might want to use the magic eraser a little bit until you get it off, but don't keep rubbing, because the longer you rub, like I said, it appears it almost breaks down the powder coat and starts to bleed it back in. So all in all, hands down, power wash works great. It's quick. And let me show you the results of this wine tumbler. So that's a wrap for today's video on powder coat. I hope you found it helpful. Let me know how it works out for you, or if you have any changes that you find work better in the comments below. Like in anything, the learning never stops. The engravings I did on these regular type coasters that have a very slow taper down to them, as well as to the dog bowls which have no taper on them, worked great. The logos or the images or designs came out nice and square and to the size they were supposed to. However, with this wine tumbler, I noticed it has a much more severe taper, or a quicker taper. And you may or may not have noticed, but my logo got stretched sideways. Looks like I've got some more work to do. Once I figure it out, I'll let you know. Have yourself a wonderful week, and have fun with your bolt. I hope to see you again on the next one. Cheers.